I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this with 100% certainty with having no way of knowing that it's true. But I think I believe this wholeheartedly. Trent Bray, given his age and the pop culture at the time, I would say Trent Bray 100% for sure saw Beavis and Butthead Do America in theaters close to the day it came out. Maybe not opening night, but the day it came out. Welcome, listener. We were talking about Beavis and Butthead and also Trent Bray, so we decided to start the show on a win. Welcome to episode 170.
Yeah,
welcome.
Trent Bray, best coach in the NCAA. Also, most fun.
Also, and probable Beavis and Butthead fan. That's the
big
Beavis discussion we're having. The likelihood of Trent Bray's Beavis and Butthead enthusiasm.
We did some sleuthing. I mean, it's similar to when we tried to uncover where Bernice was, and look what happened. We found her. So maybe this will lead to
a live show of watching Beavis and Butthead with Trent Bray. We're breaking down film, but the film is Beavis and Butthead.
In the MU quad.
Let me die at that point because it wouldn't ever get any better than
a live show in the MU quad.
What
projected on a giant screen, pulled down on the front steps.
The only Oregon State themed podcast that has been publicly compared to Beavis and Butthead and Dumb and Dumber simultaneously by the same person, and that person was a lawyer.
Yeah,
and
he knows his
eventually
stuff.
Won over. I forget that gentleman's name. JP, I'm sure you have it. I'm sure you have that YouTube comment framed at your desk, and it's the first thing you look at every morning.
I just looked at it. I literally just looked at it the other day. I'm trying to remember what his name is now. I'll have to find it. I'll find it.
Smart guy.
I wonder how many times he gets objected to in court. Probably a lot. If he's just
Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
He's any opposing counsel is just Dumb and Dumber, and he's just comparing it to different scenes in the movie at all times, but like that in a way that doesn't really make sense. But he kind of gets to the point at the end, and the judge is just like, "Wait, what?"
I found him. Charles Foster Malloy. Shout out to you,
Foster Malloy.
Charles Foster.
The mailman.
Malloy.
He is Malloy. That's a lawyer, or maybe lawyer.
Lawyer Malloy.
He's a lawyer.
New England Patriots immortality. Lawyer Malloy. Welcome to the show, lawyer. Happy to have you here.
I think he's from Tacoma. Pretty sure.
Who? Charles?
Lawyer Malloy.
Oh,
I thought you were talking about this
lawyer
random
Malloy
man.
are we talking about?
There's too many. Of the YouTube variety or the Hall of Fame free safety variety. I'm not sure. I think Lawyer Malloy was number 36. That's a jersey number I could have used for this year.
Oh, shoot.
Damn it.
Nah, you picked a better one.
I got 3 more weeks of being 36. I'm so excited for this jersey. We won't say what it is on the pod yet. We'll tease it.
Hey, should I just reread though Charles Foster Malloyer's?
Let's do a couple of them.
Comments.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So this was like the process of us winning him over. Let's recall.
At this point, he was the only person commenting on the YouTube videos. I don't think we even had video. It was just the graphic and the
audiogram,
right?
Yeah. And then he was like, he commented with like timestamps. I mean, it was very precise and professional, but he said like
he knew how hyperlinks worked. That's for sure.
Yeah, he said, come on, where did it just go? Approximately about 18 minutes. Conference realignment talk sorta starts. Maybe. Edit. Nope. Spoke too soon.
Honestly, that is a perfect review of this show. Just stop it right there. No notes. Conference realignment talk kind of starts, sort of, maybe. Edit. Nope. Spoke too soon. Put that on all of our tombstones when we're gone.
And then he said, talked about us saying embrace streaming. He said the stupidest idea ever at this time right now, not perhaps later. And then later he says, looking like 1.5 hours of mostly nonsense, other than potential for global branding feature. Really like that idea for potential. And why not? Basketball has taken over globally. Why not American football with proper exposure? But your mark is more likely to make that happen than George Klavkov. And then,
of course, yeah, no shit.
Yeah. And then last but not least was, I think this was he had a lot more. Oh, yeah.
He had
this
like
is second to
100
last.
comments.
Yeah. The title should be Dumb and Dumber Beavis and Butthead all do conference realignment, sorta, ... after smoking some brackets pretty good and brackets pot.
I do remember that. It was good.
It's honestly perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did clarify because I said, thanks for your comments and tuning in. And then he said he did subscribe, and he said that we are ranking number 1 right now on conference realignment search on YouTube.
Oh, man.
So that's how.
Just crushing it.
Yeah.
There's a win for Oregon State in the conference realignment game.
Yeah. And then last but not least, he said, okay, I'm tweeting a link to this. You earned it. That was his final comment on the episode.
Nice.
Man, when Twitter was good.
Charles
Twitter
Foster
was
Malloy.
decent, full of decent people.
Yeah, like Charles Foster
Charles.
Malloy.
Yeah.
I think we found him on Twitter, and he had posted pretty much the same.
That was probably the day before links to external websites just got bogged down too. So he may have actually gotten some goddamn engagement off of that tweet.
Yeah. Salute to you, Charles. Thank you for all your efforts.
Charles.
Yeah.
Oh,
a hero.
Nice. Well,
I wonder what we were talking about with global branding.
I think we just said that if you position the Pac-12 as with global reach, you may leave an impression on people who don't really get college football regularly.
Man,
and they might become Pac-12 fans. It was a good idea.
Your mind works wonders. There's no way I would have been able to remember that, but you're right.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
And we're probably doing it.
I think I said it. That's why I think it's
global,
a good idea.
With the global.
And remember.
It's a good idea. I don't remember that. Yeah, it was my idea. It's still good. We'll be getting more into global flavor when we get dive deeper into the men's basketball segment of the show. We have a lot of, despite the timing of year and there not being a ton of basketball games that have taken place in the last few days, and baseball still being weeks away, we kind of have a lot to get to, and a lot of it's not football, which is kind of exciting because we just get bombarded with football content so much. So we probably only have a little bit more time for nonsense before we get into the beer segment and then get into the meat of this episode. We are recording this on Wednesday, January 22nd. So you are maybe listening to this on your way to the Oregon State men's basketball game against Pepperdine at Gill, or maybe after we beat Pepperdine by 40 points at Gill. That would be nice. Or somewhere in between. Or after.
I dine on pepper, man. I put pepper on everything. Arguably too much. And I have a feeling that's what Oregon State's going to be doing tomorrow.
Putting too much dining on too much pepper.
So anyway, before we hit the beer segment, what's new with you guys? What's going on? It's been over a week. What's up?
Oh, I had something I was going to share. Now I forgot. I totally forgot. So no, nothing new.
Well, you're wearing a very cool Paris of the Pacific Northwest crew neck that you can purchase at belligerentbeavs.com/merch. Oh, I forgot I'm supposed to do this at the beginning now. That man wearing that gorgeous Paris of the Pacific Northwest crew neck that you can get at belligerentbeavs.com/merch is JP Bertram. And I'm just stalling to see if you remember the thought you wanted to share with all of us. In the meantime, I'm distracted. At the Trial J on Twitter, Wikipedia. At the _Trial_J, because he's too trial to be real. And at JP Bertram on Instagram and elsewhere, among otherwise.
Yeah.
Yep, that was the thought.
Yep. My thought was to agree.
Beavis and Butthead. It wasn't about Abercrombie. It wasn't about what else have we?
George Pepperdine, who created Pepperdine University.
Oh,
okay, yeah, that makes sense. Pepperdine. That's kind of a cool last name.
Oh man, cool ass school too. That would be a great away. Well, I don't know if it would be a great away day right now, but typically great away day.
It's in a hypothetical, yeah.
Yeah,
Pepperdine's known, but Pepperdine's known as a expensive school, right?
Yeah, it's an expensive ass school in Malibu.
We're not all of the schools in the WCC,
right? We're not going to have a rowdy away day and maybe get into it with the visiting student section. Just kidding, we don't do that.
Do you know their motto?
Pepperdine's.
Everyone sucks but us. Everyone wants to be us. The devil wears Prada.
Ye received, freely give. Are they just kind of poking fun at the rich kids? Freely received.
Freely ye received. So maybe don't be a dick when you go out into the world.
I like that.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're fortunate.
I vibe with that, George kind. Pepperdine.
Good job, George.
Yeah.
We're still going to kick your ass at Gill on Thursday.
Yes, we are.
But yeah, Benny, I do a basketball game at Pepperdine.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in like mid-January. Get me out of this cold.
No kidding. Man,
like
especially
now?
you.
Yeah. I know.
It's so cold for you.
I know. I would love to go to Malibu.
Stone cold.
Right now. I know we're going to Vegas in about 7 or 8 weeks, which is going to be amazing. But I would love to be in Malibu right now. I know it's coming up.
I think it's 7.
Well, Benny's going in 5.5 and just waiting for us.
Yeah, I'm actually. My flight leaves tonight, guys.
Wait, am I the only one arriving Wednesday?
I believe so, I'm considering changing. You get in early Wednesday though. That's like a Wednesday. That's the breakfast flight to Vegas on Wednesday morning. That's probably a pretty good deal. But I was just looking
at a day in Vegas by yourself that's enviable.
I was looking at Delta about changing. I was like, oh, it's like $120 to change. And I was like, wait a minute, no, Delta would give me $120 to change and get it on Wednesday.
Do it.
I know the hotel, that's basically a wash, but what? Well,
but you get an extra day to hang out and play Buffalo.
I know, and then it's just me and you, because especially like bachelor party and like wedding, you just get like bombarded. I'm speaking in assumptions. You two have actually gone through it, but like you don't really get solo time with many of your friends during the process. So just like a day in Vegas, JP and
especially if you're lovely. Shivering,
and I know you're going to win money too
in your body.
No, this would be the beginning of the trip. You're leaving on Saturday, which is smart. The rest of us are leaving on Sunday like morons, and we'll it'll be fine. Anyway,
also smart leaving because it's my wife's birthday.
Oh, right. That's extra smart.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure you're really hungover on that. I'll be the one to call her to say you missed your flight and there was nothing that could be done.
And we can't find him. But there was a tiger in our hotel room.
There's a tiger in the hotel room. You're like, this sounds really familiar. Like, no, this is the first time in history.
No, it's not that. It's something else.
Right.
It's a unique story.
And that guy who probably let the tiger into the hotel room, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Weah, let it there. Benny L 1986 on all social media channels. What's up, Benny?
Oh, not much, man. Had a good time watching the college football championship game. It's weird that football's over. It's weird that college football's officially over.
I watched the game too. It was another OSU in the game, a lesser OSU, I think.
Yeah.
An upstart program that has a hard time with naming conventions, putting the before the state and not the university. But congrats to Ohio State, who beat a French outfit, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, I believe. It's kind of crazy that a French church got all the way to the national championship.
They got that hunchback.
that hunchback, yeah. I had a running back, fullback, halfback, quarterback. Hunchback, that was the real problem. And man, they almost pulled up. They're almost ringing those bells in Paris.
I have a lot of French for Notre Dame. I
kind of did too.
Yeah, interesting.
I was cheering for a good game, which just like didn't happen because
which required cheering for Notre Dame to make something happen.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we were rooting for Ohio State, but not really rooting, but. When the Mini Bay points out that if there's an OSU playing and it's not our OSU, we should root for them.
Yeah, I thought that.
That's fair.
Okay. Yeah.
There's probably some leftover just emotional investment at that age where it's like you cheered for them against Oregon. I don't know if he watched it, but was probably aware of it. And
yeah, he watched it.
It's like, wait, we want them to win again, right, Dad? And you're like, sure, whatever. I don't the Mini Bebe for sure grasps the Oregon hatred at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't really care. I had a good time. And my name is Terry Horseman, at Terry Horseman on Twitter, at Terrence Horseman on Instagram.com. And yeah, that's all I got. Should we get into the beer segment?
Let's get into the beer segment.
Yeah, let's do it. And then the meat. We've got like 3 hours of meat. We're bringing the heat to the meat.
We have a new meat segment following our vices and beer segment.
It's like, so this is a center cut ribeye. Just us and our
really good for about 18 hours. Really good if you pour water on it.
It's already a dad podcast, despite only one dad being here. But we're talking about beers, then steaks, and then building our own decks and the topsoil that he used in his garden and all that stuff.
So
anyway, no, we're not opening that door.
It makes my roses really smell like poo.
That's a June episode. That's a July episode. That's not a January episode. Keep it locked in. JP, you looked excited. Let's hear from you first.
Okay, fine. I am excited because it kind of fits what you were saying about this is like kind of a slow time, but kind of not also.
Yeah.
But that's why I picked this. Hang tight West Coast IPA. So just hang tight. There's plenty of news. There's plenty to discuss. But even though it feels like there's not a whole lot happening in the world of college athletics,
everything will be made clear at the release of Beavis and Butthead do conference realignment just in time for Oscar season. I think it needed to come out last year for the Oscars. Damn it. But whatever. We're going to win one anyway. And what was the name of the brewery?
It's Crux.
Crux.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Benny. Anything?
I should have just brought down some sugar so I could be cornholio as we go through conference realignment. But I didn't. And I don't have anything.
Oh, wow. You're not even going to put your shirt over your head?
The most boring during the beer segment.
Well, it's because you're being the most actively healthy of the three of us right now, and it's really annoying.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And the listeners agree with me.
I wish it would like carry over to me somehow.
Right.
Like your health could just like
by
excess health.
By osmosis. Like
Factor.
we get to make to share. Every Peloton is split 3 ways.
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys, I looked at your guys' schedule. You guys are doing stuff every day.
I fell off, but I got
not me.
I'm planning to get back on tomorrow.
And JP, didn't you have like a 1,000-day streak?
I had like a 1,800-day streak or something.
Oh my God,
nuts.
I haven't even had my Peloton for 1,800.
It was like 1,200 days. It was insane.
That is.
As soon as I fell off and I went out.
The second you let a streak fall, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I could get it to do that again, but it seems hard.
Yeah.
It's right over there. I'd have to get up.
Yeah. Like back though, like it didn't feel hard to do it. But then now looking back because of how grand the streak was, it's like,
it's hard. Yeah.
So I'll never be like at that level again.
No, you could
be.
I don't think. Maybe. I'll have to find a new obsession.
I am also excited for the first time I have beer from my new employer, Forgotten Star Brewery in Minnesota, where I've essentially run the sports leagues. Running sports leagues at a brewery. Right now it's curling, a very explosive and violent sport. Professional curling. It's not professional curling. It's beer league curling, but they needed a guy to be the ref. Do admin. And doing admin for beer league when you've been doing admin in academia is such a refreshing and fun switch. I recommend everyone do it if you're looking for a career switch. Anyway, so from Forgotten Star Brewery in Minnesota, I have like a cask, like a mini cask of Loon Call Lager. JP, I don't know if we can play 5 seconds of Loon Calls. I can't do a Loon Call myself.
I'd rather you do them.
It's the least Minnesotan thing about me. But as I drink it, Loons are just flying outside of my window. It's smooth. It's a lager. It's drinkable. It's delicious. You can't buy the beer online, but just visit the tap room if you're in Minnesota. DM me.
Is curling's a sport on ice where you have to sweep the ice.
You slide the stone and sweep the ice to make the stone go faster. And the U.S. has won multiple golds, I believe. I believe 3/4 of the team hailed from Duluth, Minnesota, which is much further north than where I live. But
and I know it probably isn't this way, but it always seems like the sport that you could just sort of fall into the Olympic team on.
They're the only guys in the Olympics with beer bellies. At the opening ceremony, they're the ones walking slow and just kind of fuck yeah, we're here. It's a dream. It's like bocce. It's essentially bocce on ice.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of balance to it. I don't actually have to play it. I just have to, run the league, and I run it with an iron fist.
Do you get to pick which sports are played?
I can in the future. It like just started, but so we are set up for bocce, cornhole, and cube at the moment. Cube is a fun game where you like set up wooden like pikes and then throw other wooden things and knock them down.
You need to set up a basketball league.
I would fucking love. We could do it. We could do it. We have a massive tap room, so we like absolutely could do it.
Oh, man.
That's a dream.
I need to go back and watch that movie.
We all should.
Such a good movie.
We should just do it. We always talk about like we could do this during the summer, and then in the summer we just come on and talk shit. Like we could do like a rewatchables episode of just like watching basketball and talking about it. And our listeners would probably love it because they're like, your conference realignment ticks are dumb. Talk about Trey Parker and Matt Stone from 1995.
That might be one of the first R-rated movies that I saw. The first one was Ransom. But that
oh my
that
god,
like,
those are the most different movies possible.
Give me back my son.
Ransom was terrifying. I think I saw Ransom and was scared. It came out about the same time.
Yeah, I think so.
Basketball, yeah.
1998 was basketball.
Basketball is 98, huh? I thought it was earlier. That makes sense.
Yeah, 98. My first art movie I saw in theaters was Varsity Blues.
Oh, nice.
That was 99.
Mine might have been, was it the first? I think He Got Game was my first in theaters with my dad. Because he was like, this is just a basketball movie, right? And it turned out to be way more than a basketball movie. Way more of a lot of things. And
that's like when I went to go see Titanic. I don't know why I went to go see Titanic with my dad, but I did go see Titanic with my dad. Right. And it was super uncomfortable.
Well, what's funny is the scene that you're referring to in Titanic comes about like halfway through a very long movie. So then after that takes place, you have to sit through the rest of it, which is essentially the length of another movie. And then that unspoken tension is just in the air between you. And you're like, Dad, I've got some feelings. Dad, I need to go to the bathroom. I have to go right now.
Oh.
Yeah. Just the most uncomfortable.
Needed
Never again will I go to the movie theater to watch Titanic with my dad.
It may have been considered an emergency for your poor dad, Papa Joe Weehage, as Leo and Kate were in the backseat of a 1912.
Rose. Wait, that's a real name.
Well, and Jack and Rose, thank you for that edit. We should have declared emergency and just recorded an emergency episode last Thursday night when the Beavs zigged the Zags.
They zigged the Zags.
An incredible scene. I know last year we had our victory over number 9 Arizona at the buzzer, which was a great scene as well. But God, it felt like it had been longer since we really had seen Gill like that. We will talk about the San Francisco loss too, and what the team needs to do to truly make this a special season and not just a flash in the pan, and the things that they can do to maybe make that happen. But we need to shed light on the thing that made us as happy as possible this game on Thursday night. Michael Rataj, a performance for the ages, out-dueling Graham Ike, and just to see that floor rush, that win in overtime after, just that heart-sinking 3 that Ike made in the waning seconds. This was just such
an awkward shot.
An awkward shot. The only 3 he took and it goes in. It was just such a great basketball game all around, and just great basketball at Gill is a special thing. We haven't had it a ton on the men's side in the last, handful of seasons. So it being on CBS Sports and getting that treatment was a great time. And just, we'll get into a lot more men's basketball talkers, but let's go back in time to Thursday, moments after the game. Benny, let's start with you. Just how are you feeling? What was kind of the one thing going through your head as those glorious final seconds finally ticked down in overtime and we zigged the Zags?
I mean, I think most of the Beaver fam would agree with me that the thing that stuck out was the environment at Gill. It was just so electric. And we've seen sold out crowds at Gill before, but I don't know if we've seen a crowd like that with not necessarily the implications, but just sort of this like transitionary period within men's basketball where it feels like things are starting to click, and it feels like Tinkle maybe has found his secret sauce to a certain extent in terms of how he puts a team together. And so the future seems so bright with this program in general. And you're pitted with the school who I think it's fair to say is going to be the school, if there is one that has a target on their back the most going into this new Pac-12. And so it's going to be a regional foe, right? So there's a lot that sort of went into this game, and you could feel that within the crowd. And man, from start to finish, and it is sometimes a crowd can be electric and it doesn't show on TV. And the electricity within the crowd definitely showed on TV. And I had super early meetings the next day, but I was still so frustrated with myself that I didn't go down. But yeah, I think that this team showed a couple of things. One, it's more Rataj showed that he has those big balls to be able to step up in pivotal games. And we talk about this team being just a true team, and they're not necessarily really being that go-to guy, but you have to have that guy on the team if you want to make any noise, the guy that's going to step up, and boy, did Rataj step up. But the other thing is like, as a team, you showed that you can step toe-to-toe with the big boys. And I think that is more important than what maybe it seemed at the surface level, because this team, Oregon State, didn't have a signature win. They've won a lot of games, and they've won a lot of games really convincingly, but they didn't have that signature win. And this was that. And sometimes that's what a team needs to be able to, gut it out at the end in some of these games that I think we all know are going to be really close and are against really good competition. So I think that was really good. But, Tinkle had said something at the end of the game, which I don't think is necessarily fair. He started talking about how he's like, sometimes he gets frustrated that Gill isn't always full. The team hasn't really given us a reason to fill Gill in a lot of the years that Tinkle's been coach. But he did make the point of like, when Gill's rocking, it is a fortress, and making the point that it's really difficult to win in Gill if you're coming in on the road. And I agree with that.
That can be a chicken or the egg situation, but I get where he was coming from.
I do too, especially with this team. But man, I don't know if you guys felt it, but that was like as emotionally invested as I've been in this Beaver men's basketball team since the Elite Eight.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine wanting a regular season win against not Oregon more than that. I think that played into it. It's all like, I think it was big. That was a regional foe that we haven't played a lot. And like you mentioned, the stakes are high because we don't know how good this team can be. But JP kind of, Benny took a lot of the great talking points, but that's because he's a smart guy. And was thoughtfully watching the game. Thank you. But JP, what was the kind of your main takeaway, or just how thrilled were you in the wee hours of Thursday night?
Yeah. So I think what I took away the most, which was obviously like, okay, this validates a bit about this team's growth ceiling, also tells you where they're at in a sense, especially with the rebound game. But what I loved was two things. There's been lots of talk about the buy-in of the players. This group is invested in the system and the coaching staff. And that's one thing to hear it. And we've heard that kind of commentary before. But what I always saw was when the going got tough, you could see the teams previously with those similar like accolades of, oh yeah, these guys all are bought in. They would flounder when it mattered most. They'd have periods of just over trying, and you like just flatlined blocks of time where there was no scoring, a massive drought where the other team was still putting up points. What I thought was the most interesting about the game against Gonzaga was the consistency of scoring that we had achieved. And the big difference was honestly with 5 minutes left in the second half, when Gonzaga started to pull ahead, and we just flatlined them while our scoring kept growing over time. And that was the part that I thought was the biggest exciting factor outside of things that you'd already mentioned, Benny. Of course, regional foe, clean slate to develop a fun rivalry with.
Yeah.
And
I can't wait to see what happens in Spokane in a few days.
I know.
Well, yeah.
I'm scared, but I'm excited.
We'll have to see. I mean, Gill is a fortress. We've said that millions of times over, but the players are clearly invested in the staff and their teammates, but also being a Beaver basketball player, because it did seem like they were very much feeding off of the crowd. I felt it when I was there at Gill for the game against Oregon. There was a lot of, I don't know, buy-in from the players to have the crowd give them the energy to feed off of. Like, it wasn't like they were just like, oh yeah, they're loud for me because I did a cool thing. It was like, no, they want us to win just as bad as I want to win. And now I feel like I want to win even more than that. And they try to put their best foot forward, best effort forward against Oregon, got away from them. It was a good learning experience. And I think that actually parlayed a lot into this game where they were able to close it out. I mean, the final score was 97-89. There's an 8-point difference. And that was our largest lead of the game, tied with, I think, like a couple of minutes left in the first half.
I didn't know
Gonzaga had only pulled away at most 6 points. And I think that was what was happening with the 5 minutes left in the second half.
Yeah.
So we kept it tight. We kept it close. There was tons of effort. There was obviously some guys who did a million things like Rataj. I thought Parsifala played incredibly well before he got out. And Kings, Lake, there was just like contributions galore. I would love to see that consistently happen. Polo was just a court martial out there, man. I'm telling you, like the way he plays basketball and his not even level of confidence, but just the way he plays with enough trust in himself to not have to like overthink the things he's doing. Obviously, sometimes when you're young, that can come back and bite you, but like, it reminds me of Baron Davis, 100%. I'll say it a million times over every single time I'm watching him. It's like, this dude's just got confidence galore. I mean, he's oozing.
It was fun to see people mention that on Twitter after the game. I kind of see it, You guys mentioned Kings. He had a hell of a game. A couple guys who only had one bucket apiece, but they were great buckets, both of them. Matthew Marsh. That dunk, thunderous dunk. Smash. I just saw like Drew Eubanks fall from the ceiling and then recreate one of his amazing dunks. What I loved about that play so much was I think it was Lake or C who got the ball to Kings, and Kings like had a good look. It was a contested look, but a good look. And then just like to quote Ted Lasso, he just made the extra pass. Like it's so hard to like develop that skill to like know when to do it. Like, get your shot or make one more pass. And sometimes it's like you're forcing something by trying to pass it, or you're forcing the shot or whatever. Perfect extra pass, lay it off to Marsh, let the big guy throw it down, and LT, those 2 points in overtime.
No kidding.
Would have been nice to have a few more and sooner, but timely buckets is how you win big games in March. And he showed up at the right time. If it could only be one bucket, that was the right time for it. Yeah, it just seems like, we maybe have lady luck on our side for these games at home. And I know Gonzaga, it's the most fun part about it, I get, if you're a neutral college basketball fan, is you get to see Gonzaga is going to they're going to take this game seriously in Spokane. We've got a couple games before that we can't overlook. But that's what's great about them being in this new conference too. Like, we all had that great day on the group chat. We went through the 3 stages of welcoming Gonzaga with Gonzaga, and it was games like this that we were imagining, and we got the result that we knew would be incredible in the first one, and that's just fun. And it's bigger. Like last year, Arizona had a higher ranking when we beat them, and I'm not trying to diminish what the players who played in that game did that day. but it was kind of towards the end of the season, and that was like, man, it felt good to put a win on what's been kind of an up and down, frustrating year. This, while there's still been some ups and downs, whatever, but like the expectations are higher. Like the blank pages ahead, like give us hope of like what might be possible.
Yeah.
And people will look at this right now. I mean, the net rankings are, you got to take them with a grain of salt, but they're sitting at 59 right now. And like, they're going to be on that bubble, even with some of these losses that I know we don't want aside. This is in the notes and we'll talk more about it with that game, but important reminder, SF is also a very good basketball team.
Yeah.
So I don't want to think of that as just like, major letdown. It obviously was a letdown to some degree, but it's not the sky is falling.
No.
So yeah.
Not even close.
No.
I mean, the USF, of course, they haven't played any ranked opponents, but they are undefeated at home.
Yeah.
Right. They're
really good at home, which is super weird because their stadium, what does it hold? 1,500?
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, they're the only team in the conference that has a better home record than us.
Yeah, we can go into that game right now, but I feel like just wrapping up Gonzaga, like I feel like I forget who was play-by-play, but I thought the announcers did a pretty good job in this game. I was skeptical because I didn't think
wasn't it Dan
CBS
Dickow?
Was it Dickow?
Dickow was one of them. Yeah. Well,
props to Dickow because it didn't feel super biased towards the Zags. Anytime we're on a network like that, I'm like, oh, like these people have never been in Corvallis before. They're going to be like, well, like that playoff game or the regionals. And they're like interviewing Cooper Jerpy in the dugout going like, so what is there to do in this town? And Cooper's like, I pitched like 8 shutout innings last night. Can you ask me something different? It didn't feel like that, but just like that call at the end, like the Beavers get their signature win. Like that is, if it's like a poker game while trying to get your like name just on the bracket at the end of all this, like that's a pretty significant chip. We beat Gonzaga because there will be a team somewhere in some conference that's like 24-8 or something. And yeah, we might not have 24 when it's all said and done at the end of this, but their 24 probably doesn't include a Gonzaga. So
yeah, you know what? The last thing that I have to say about the Gonzaga win is more so like full picture of this next iteration of the Pac-12. The West Coast Conference has gotten 3 teams into the tournament on and off the last couple of years. Yeah. I don't think it's crazy to think that the Pac-12 could get 4 teams in, which is insane to think in an 8-team league. But I mean, truthfully, they could with San Diego State, Gonzaga, Utah State, Oregon State, Washington State. Like these are good basketball programs.
Yeah.
Right. And it makes me excited because Oregon State's not going to be the doormat of that conference like we kind of saw them be the last 20 years in the Pac-12, give or take a couple years. But I feel like recruiting's going to be, you're going to have a lot better of a pitch to these players. Right? Like every game is going to be a slugfest, and it's going to come down to the last couple of weekends a lot of the years. Like this is going to be such a fun conference. Gonzaga is going to be a big part of it, but to have like true regional rivalries like with Gonzaga and with San Diego, that's going to be awesome. And this is fun to see.
Like I said, this was a good basketball game for just a basketball fan. It was like a nearly like perfect basketball game. And I know there's some rankings or whatever. Have you watched much Big Ten basketball this year? It's
no.
Big. Teams are boring as shit. There's going to be some pretty disappointing upsets come March. That's all I'll say about that. There's maybe as many. Okay, I'll stop right there. But anyway, beautiful basketball game. Of course, we can't mention the 97-89 overtime win against Gonzaga without mentioning the next game the Beaver men's basketball team played, which was an 81-70 loss at San Francisco, the program of Bill Russell, and currently the program of Malik Thomas, who is a fucking baller. and is also a program that has their eyes on the tourney. And as JP mentioned, undefeated at home, best home record in the West Coast Conference. And yeah, like I was disappointed because I thought it was a game we could win, especially coming off of Gonzaga. Even before that, I was like, okay, we're evenly matched. We can get this win. But even so, San Francisco is favored by 3.5 going into this game. And they have just more dynamic scoring players like Thomas that we don't. You know, Rataj and Kings are kind of the only ones who could pop as they did against Gonzaga. And if the shots aren't dropping, I will remind the listener, this is a pretty damn good shooting team. I think it's the best shooting team Tinkle's ever had, but pretty high up in the scheme of things in all three major shooting categories. And it kind of just felt like this is the hangover game. This is the hangover game that happens. I think you only worry if this leads to a home loss against Pepperdine. And I'm not willing to go there yet. And speak about things that haven't happened. So disappointing that the highest of highs was backed up with a road woe. And, you know, there's a portion of the fan base that thinks Tinkle should win every game. But it was an opportunity to get a win in a true road game that have been evasive for this group. So, you know, can't have the good without the bad in this game sometimes.
Well, and I think, look, it's obvious that there's the road woes with Tinkle-led teams, and I'm going to try to dig into this a little bit at some point in the near future. But I think that some of this, I agree that there was clearly a hangover game. I think that it was exasperated to be a bigger deal of, come on, look what we just did at home. Why are we so bad on the road? And it makes sense looking at who we lost to so far on the road. But you have to take a step back and realize, like, I think that maybe we are so fresh and new to this conference as fans that we're missing the point of what the WCC has been, other than, you know, one or two that really step out on their own, like a St. Mary's or Gonzaga. They just beat each other up all season long. Looking at Santa Clara, if you go back to, like, really the LMU game was the first, like, here we go, right? Then we had Santa Clara on the road, and we thought maybe this will be a road win, and that was a heartbreaker. Then USF, and that was, again, I think more so chalked up to it being a hangover game. But if you look at Santa Clara's record, they, after against Gonzaga, had a hangover, beat Gonzaga in their own hangover game at home again in Spokane. So Santa Clara, like, are they a pushover? I mean, they just also beat Gonzaga. You can't have, you know, both sides here. Like, is Gonzaga that good that they just lost it on the road to us, and that was a great win, and they went home and lost to Santa Clara, like, who beat us on the road by a buzzer beater.
We had that game in the bag.
Yeah. And then Santa Clara, before beating Gonzaga, lost to LMU at LMU. And then the week before that, they smoked USF.
Yeah.
There's just so many. There's just like a cannibalization of really everyone that isn't going to be the top dog. And I think mixing in Wazoo and Oregon State especially has thrown the top dog seeding thus far, has thrown the top dog seeding kind of off its axis.
It's a little haywire.
WCC. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think that the WCC is getting more love in the last couple years than what they have in the past. Like St. Mary's and Gonzaga have really paved the way for people to pay attention to the West Coast Conference. You know, San Francisco has gotten into the tournament. Santa Clara has been on the bubble like several years, in the last 5. And so these aren't like University of Portland teams, right? Like, they are legitimately
who
good
took Oregon
players
into overtime in Eugene.
That's true. I would argue that the one bad loss that that Oregon State's had this year is at LMU, but they had, why am I blanking on
Michael Porter
Jr.'s brother.
Well, his name isn't Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, but we all know who you're talking about.
But he truly did go off. Like, he had a really insanely good game. And USF, they're good at shooting the three, But like Oregon State hasn't had a team shoot the three like USF did in the first half of that game, I think, ever this season.
Malik didn't miss. Yeah. Like at all.
And they weren't, I mean, some of them were open looks, but a lot of them were contested and they were just hitting their shots. Now, we were down by 20 in the second half, and you can't just attest that to the other team just being hot.
Right.
So I do think that there's an element of a hangover. Here's the other thing with this program, like winning on the road in college basketball, just generally not easy, pretty difficult. Right. And I think you'll see that even looking at the best teams' records, it is incredibly difficult to win on the road consistently in college basketball.
Unless you're St. Mary's, they're 4-0 on the road.
Yeah, but that's only 4 games.
And we still have 2 games against St. Mary's to go.
Yeah.
To talk about this as like a little bit of a gauntlet.
Yeah. But Rataj is really the only returning player of significance. Did Kings play on the team last year? I know he didn't have that much of a. I don't think he did he? It's tough to say because I know he changed his last name in the offseason. I don't remember what his last name was last year.
I was thinking this the other day. Yeah.
We'll have to look into that. But like my point being, this team is so new. Like we forget that because they played so well as a team early on, but like playing well on the court and being able to coexist together on the road are 2 different things.
Kings missed all of last season with an ACL injury.
Okay.
He was on the team.
Okay.
Yeah, he was around.
Okay. But like, I haven't played college basketball, so I don't know. But I can only imagine when you're around a bunch of new faces, getting to know each other, like,
yeah, and that's what's been impressive.
Good road teams are teams that have played together for a number of years. Right. And if you look at Tinkle's teams, it is high turnover every single year. And I think with this new angle at recruiting internationally, it does offer some perks of allowing you to hold on to players longer.
Right. And we'll see
if Tinkle can hold this team together for next year. Obviously, Polo's a senior and he's out of eligibility. But I don't think there are many other seniors on the team. Rataj honestly might go to the league.
It wouldn't be crazy.
He has that ability.
People are learning about.
But if Tinkle can keep this team together, like I think we'll see a different team on the road next year and potentially at the end of this year. Mm-hmm. Like road game against Santa Clara is nothing to hang your head about. Like we had that game in the bag and the ball bounced in just such a weird way at the end that it's hard to blame that on the team. And Santa Clara is playing lights out.
Yeah, and as JP mentioned, they just beat Gonzaga. And to your earlier point, the night we beat Gonzaga is one of 3 ranked teams playing against unranked teams on the road that night in college basketball. Gonzaga, Michigan, and Memphis. And all 3 lost.
Right.
Like it was one of those nights of college basketball where it's just gorgeous and there's just a lot of upsets. Yeah. I love this game. But all 3 ranked teams who had pretty comfy margins of being favored and all 3 lost. So
I will say this though. I sympathize, and during the game on Saturday was even in the state of mind where like I was agreeing with a lot of people who were saying like this has to stop. Like Tinkle has to figure out how to win on the road. And I do think that a lot of it can be attributed to what we talked about. But there's also a part of me where it's like, does he need to get like a guru who specializes in like
in road games?
How to get the best sleep on the road or nutrition or like meditation or like what?
Well, upcoming road games for the rest of this season, there are 5 true road games at Gonzaga, at Portland, at Pepperdine, at San Diego, at St. Mary's. I think to curry favor with the fan base, he needs to go 3-2 in those games. Yeah. Portland, Pepperdine, and San Diego are out of it. They're still going to play proud. They're still going to play hard. They're not going to give you anything.
No.
And then I do think even if you do lose at Gonzaga and at St. Mary's, a lot of it is in the way you play. There will always be that portion of the fan base that just looks at win-loss, and that's everything. And that's just kind of the state of sports. in 2025 and kind of always has been. But if you go 3-2 in those games, you take care of business at home, you don't have to go to Pullman, and you get that win, especially if you are, even if you split the St. Mary's San Francisco games at Gill. That's a fairly impressive resume coming off of the year you came off of and replacing essentially every contributor from last year's team besides Rataj. Like, that's an objectively quality coaching job. And if you go 4-1, then you're kind of cooking and you've got a real argument to make.
Oregon State, what do they have? 14 games left in the season? 15? I think it's 14.
I think, 11 and then the conference tournament.
Wait, they have 11? That put them at like 26 games. That doesn't sound right.
Oh, no, we're 14 and 6 right now. We have 11 and then the conference tournament. So we'll be at 31 games, conference tournament, guaranteed 32.
Right.
Hopefully you win the conference tournament. And then
I think Oregon State, like, being completely honest, Oregon State has to get to 24 wins.
Before the conference tournament or including the conference tournament?
I would, including the conference tournament.
Okay. Like,
bare minimum 24 wins to have a shot at making the NCAA tournament. Which means that you're being probably
10-2 in the next 12.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, right. So
10-3.
Like those games against Pepperdine, both home and on the road. And the 3 road games that the other 2 other road games
Portland, San Diego,
and at Portland. You can't drop those games. If you want to talk about an at-large bid, like you can't.
Especially at-large, those need to be comfortable.
Those need to be comfortable.
That matters.
I think it was, so USF was the
24 wins, by the way, would be our most wins in a season. The last time we eclipsed 24 was 1995. But they were vacated.
Yeah, there's a
But so USF was the last school to get in, like, with BCC getting 3 schools in. So St. Mary's, Gonzaga, and then USF. And I think that was 2 years ago. And I think USF had 25 wins. And you've had a couple years where Santa Clara has had 24 wins and hasn't gotten in. I think the argument can certainly be made that the West Coast Conference has been bolstered by Oregon State and Washington State. And so those 24 wins that Santa Clara got last year and I think 2 or 3 years ago,
here's the thing,
are not the same 24 wins.
Gonzaga losing to Santa Clara after us, are they dropping out of the top 25? Will the pundits be like, ooh, Gonzaga isn't the top 5 team we thought they were? This means the conference isn't as good. Like how for 20 years, the Big Ten was like, look at us, we're awesome. And they were just coasting off of Ohio State's coattails. That will be the last Big Ten dig in this segment. In this sentence. So yeah, I mean, who knows? We never really know what they're all looking at. 18 of the
top 25 teams lost this last week.
Yeah. So it's lots of movement.
Lots of movement. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Gonzaga gets kicked out of the top 25 or drops out, not kicks out. I mean, they went 0-2 against teams that I don't necessarily think a lot of the voters respect a bunch.
Yeah. They're like, other than that Michael Rataj guy, Oregon State's got nobody.
Come on, like we used to call him the German kid.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's not forget.
I don't think Gonzaga's going to be in the top 25. You know what the other crazy thing is? I was going back and looking at some of the past, most recent past years in West Coast Conference. St. Mary's has won more West Coast Conference.
St. Mary's is really good.
Titles That's Gonzaga has.
Just
the last 10 years.
On just hitting at realignment shit very quickly. I'm going to say one thing and I'm going to get out because I don't want to get bogged down with this. If the next realignment announcement concerning the Pac-12 is adding St. Mary's, don't be pissed off about it.
Fuck no. Why?
There'll be adjacent moves, but I think people are waiting for that. People are waiting for that Memphis bomb and that Tulane bomb. Anything else they're just going to get mad at. Like St. Mary's would be a very shrewd move that would have a lot of just nice ripples for a lot of things. And they're very good at basketball and will be a big challenge for us, who we play twice. And apparently there's only room for 2 more losses on the schedule, according to Benny. So
I
maybe
think
3 if you make a conference tourney run. But
Yeah.
And you play the Gales twice, and they're good. Good Gales.
But the way that the West Coast Conference is set up is if you do finish in like the top 4, you don't have many conference tournament games.
Well, the top 4 get a bye, right?
The top 4 get 2 byes. And I think the top 2 get 3 byes. Look up the bracket for the West Coast Conference tournament.
That sounds insane.
Wild. Because it's like it's like the last 2 teams play the first round, and then it's the winner of that.
So if you're a top 4, you get to the quarterfinals, and then 1 would play 8, 2 would play 7.
There's probably 10 and 11 play.
Yeah, there's got to be a play-in to
8 and 9 play, and the winner of 10 and 11 plays 7. And then you've got 2, 3, 5, and 6 playing. Oh no, you've got the winner of game 2, so 8 or 9 playing 5.
Of course, a conference with 7, like really high-end academic
11
institutions has something this complicated.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Playing 6, and then you have number 4 playing 5, 8, 9.
They're playing all 3?
No, you're playing either of them.
Okay.
And then 3 is playing 6.
I'm glad 7, you brought up basketball, because there's that
11.
scene in basketball where Bob Costas is breaking down the basketball playoffs, and it is more complicated than this. And it's the best work Costas has done in his broadcasting career.
Then the number 1 seed plays the winner of 4 versus 5 or 8 or 9.
Jesus.
And then number 2 plays the winner of number 3 versus 6, 7, 10, or 11. The winners of those 2 games are in the men's championship game.
Right. So the first and second place team get an automatic bye until the semis.
That whole thought process was like how Benny figured out which combo meal he wanted to order off of the McDonald's walk-up window circa 2010.
I mean, it truly is like each spot. Like if you bracket up the West Coast Conference, you have like each bracket is 2 teams. Every bracket you move up, you get
more
bye.
games you're playing. Yeah.
Right.
Or no, every bracket you move down, even more games you're gonna play.
Yeah,
sure.
Or more games it would require to get
the West
to
Coast Conference tournament is probably so fucking fun.
Oh, I bet. It's in Vegas, right?
I would go to that 11-10 game just as a neutral observer and just be.
It's in Vegas, March 6th to the 11th. Should we just change Terry's bachelor party?
Yeah.
No, just extend it. I'll send an email tonight. We're all getting in on the 6th.
Okay,
it's the 6th to the 26th.
Vegas.
No, we don't need to be there the 6th, because that's when the 10 and 11 seeds play.
I want to be at the 10-11 seed game. I want to be one of the 20 people there going nuts.
But it's on ESPN, so you have a very high chance of getting on TV.
Take this step to take 10 more steps to win the West Coast Conference tournament. Some year it's gonna happen. That's like more improbable than like a 16 seed winning.
I would say so.
You have like
you have like Pacific beating all these schools.
If you finish last in the West Coast Conference, you have to win 9 games to win the conference.
You have to win 5 games to face.
You have to play a third of another season to win the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Dude, that conference tournament has to last go from like Tuesday through
Sunday. And then you have to scale the exterior of the sphere without any equipment.
It's Thursday to Tuesday?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Thursday to Tuesday is aggressive.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I can't believe being the 10 seed, making it all the way up to the finals on Tuesday. And you've already played the whole 5 games. And you also already beat, who would it be?
They're a whisper away from making a team play 2 games in one day.
You'd beat the number 2 seed. If you were 10 or 11 and you won all the way, you'd have already beaten the number 2 seed.
Right.
So only to possibly have to take down the number 1 seed.
Gonzaga doesn't even get into town until Monday.
Yeah, I'd have so many blisters on my feet. Could you imagine? I would have so many blisters on my feet if I played 5 games in 5 days.
You would, yes.
Well, okay, but it's not so much.
All 3 of us would.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were implying you wouldn't.
No, I would.
They're all essentially 24 hours later, except the game 1 for the 10-11 seed is at 2:30 p.m. and then they don't play. The winner of that doesn't play till the next night, 30 hours later.
A low key thing I love
for what it's worth
in college basketball is like the day one conference tournament games that are in the middle of the afternoon. Yeah, and they're like sparsely attended games with just like kids just fucking fighting. And it's like I was at when the women's Big Ten tournament has been in, it's not in Minneapolis this year, but the last 2 years it has been. And I went to Minnesota against Penn State. That was the first game of the whole thing 2 years ago. And it was like, it wasn't necessarily great basketball, but it was a great watch. Cause like, there's like, we don't want our fucking season to be over. And yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Honestly, like, conference tournament week.
Conference tournaments are so fun.
Is so fun.
Yeah, conference tournaments are the shit. I know Realignment's trying to kill them, but whatever. Okay. I don't think should we talk about Tinkle's comments when he was on with Canzano, or is that going to turn this into a 3-hour episode?
I don't even know if I'm aware.
So Tinkle was on with Canzano, and he mentioned a very near acquisition that the Pac-12 was close to announcing that would send shockwaves through.
Like something. Currently there is a...
Yes, and then that one, he didn't elaborate on it at all. And so people are just like, whoa. And Canzano was just kind of like, okay. And so, yeah, so the DeMarco Monitor acquisition. Yeah. So I think Canzano has an idea of it too. But yeah, but a lot of people were saying that it was a little bit of a Freudian slip or a play on words with Tinkle, and the shockwaves means maybe a team
Wichita State.
The Wichita State Shockers as a basketball only acquisition, which is, I would argue with Tinkle that would send shockwaves. I think that's another that's like Midwest St. Mary's almost, which would be like a pawn, I guess. No, they're more than a pawn. It's a good program that has dealt with a lot since they had to fire their coach, Greg Marshall.
It sounds far away, but in reality, it's
closer than
close to Colorado State.
And if you're trying to lure Memphis, the sporting cities of Memphis and New Orleans, you need to be like, hey, not every road trip is going to be this far.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be like, oh, nice. And I would probably go down there. And Kansas is a basketball loving state, and it would be fun. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, if JP said UConn, if you have anything else on UConn, Jay, that would send shockwaves.
Well, if they're trying to get in a conference, that they can really establish football in,
right?
Where the opportunity, as long as they're willing to bring basketball along. And I think logically, that would send a lot of shockwaves because UConn is clearly not on the Pacific.
So far for them.
They're quite good at basketball.
Right. But that would mean others are coming too, and quite good at basketball. And their basketball is like, they're set in the Big East right now, but they're the only like non-private school in the Big East. And that football money kind of moves everything. Also, like, UConn as a football only member would be really anticlimactic. So
yeah,
I hope that program's coming with, but also their basketball program, those coaches would be fucking pissed.
Dude, but like, if you had,
but really, yeah,
let's do real hypothetical. If you got St. Mary's and Wichita State, would you even be considered a mid-major conference anymore?
Yes.
You think so? If you have Wichita State, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, San Diego State, Utah State,
UConn would change it. Like, so real hoop heads would probably be like, yeah, watch out for the Pac. Big media, mainstream media, absolutely yes. They would not come. Wichita State would move the needle absolutely zero for them.
Yeah.
It's it. I'm not saying you're wrong in thinking this, but
yeah,
we wouldn't, like, it's not like ESPN would be like, whoa, look what Teresa Gould's cooking up out west. Like,
I'm saying if you got St. Mary's and you think Wichita State's a big nothing burger,
I don't think it's substantively. I don't think it's a big nothing burger. I think national media wise it is.
Yeah.
But I think
national attention wise it is.
But
and
I think
national media cares more about the casual fans' perspectives than they would do people who get
and
the
like
sports.
UConn leaving the Big East in basketball, like, there's history there, and I don't think Hurley or Oriema want to leave that situation, but also we know football money is what moves everything. So if it was UConn, like that would send shockwaves, and I don't know if it would be to the betterment of their basketball programs, because their basketball programs have a pretty good thing going right now. Why make that drastic of a change? But it's because the athletic department wants that football money. So yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, and if you could present a parallel move though for basketball, I mean, how close is the pack? How close would the pack be
to the Big East,
even without Wichita? I mean, other than the fact of travel, right? Like, let's just say everyone's accepted that travel is coming and all of this realignment,
most
consolidation.
Years, it would be tough, but this year, other than
Nova's bad, Georgetown's bad
right now, but those are just brands. Marquette's really good.
What's what I'm saying? So you leave them behind.
St. John, but like Marquette, St. John's, Xavier, Butler.
But if the pack brought in St. Mary's,
well, Butler's
and
down
already
bad.
have Gonzaga, and
DePaul's
we
down
have
bad.
San Diego
State,
Utah
State, Wazoo, Oregon State. Like obviously Wazoo more so historically recently, but like
it wouldn't even hurt the Big East that much either, because all of those private schools are like pretty strictly bonded together. So like, and none of those other schools have football agendas. UConn's the only one.
Yeah.
So they could probably be like, yeah, we're sick of UConn. So I don't know. But
and there's 11 in the Big East, so
you get that nice, that nice 10 number. I wouldn't bank on it.
I would like.
He did. Tinkle said shockwaves.
Obviously, like football's king, and I think we, just fans in general, have a tendency to put more weight on whatever sport's going on. But I do think it's a really good approach to be looking at it from a dual angle, right? Like you have the Pac-12 basketball conference, which could be not completely, like it could look different than the Pac-12 football conference. And looking at those two entities as different, I don't think it's a bad thing, right?
No.
Like because basketball, if you're playing St. Mary's and Wichita State and Gonzaga, and football, you're playing not those. I mean, it does have a different feel to it.
And UConn baseball has made the NCAA baseball tournament 6 of the last 7 years. So that passes the baseball test.
Look at soccer, wrestling, gymnastics. They've all competed against programs that are not, they're affiliate Pac-12 members,
right?
In a sense, or they were. So, like, is that really any different to fans other than those that are strictly on the football, basketball, baseball agenda? Like, you get acclimated quickly, and I don't think it's a bad thing if as long as there's like a core set of universities that you can have rivalries built within, and so that way it doesn't matter what sport you're playing them in, you just still don't want to play them. I think that's important. But look, if we have 5 other members that are in every sport with us, and then the remaining like 6 to 8 to 10 are different across various sports, like whatever, I don't care.
Don't get half the Big West for baseball.
Just make it fun.
Yeah,
I mean, why not?
Make it fun is a great. Yeah. So
I agree.
This is me signing off on Wichita State.
Make it fun.
And that UConn would be interesting. I do think what they should do, no matter what, is like how there used to be kind of like the Big Ten ACC challenge. Like I think there should be a men's basketball, women's basketball scheduling alliance between the Pac-12, the new Pac-12, and
no more
the Big
alliances.
All right,
no more alliances.
A big new Pac-12 Big East scheduling agreement for
that
5 to 10 years. No, let me fucking finish. For a Pac-12 Big East challenge. So it's a guaranteed one non-conference game earlier in the season every year. So you know that if the numbers don't line up, the last place team just like moves up. But number 1 in the Pac-12 would play number 1 in the Big East. That is how the Big Ten ACC challenge used to work. And it was like a big part of like games around like Feast Week and like November college basketball. And that's not going to solve everything. That's not what I was trying to say, but just like shrewd moves to ensure you're getting good games that may be outside of your conference. And that is something I'd be interested in exploring.
I'm into that, but I feel like at this day and age, no one wants to do those scheduling agreements because if you have a weaker program or you have weaker fan support or the site is something that, none of the major outlets want to like travel to cover the game, then it's all for naught. And then it's all high risk for the conference or program that has the most to lose. And I think that the landscape of college athletics has ruined what used to be like an interesting, little twist in the season schedules. But what could work though is some sort of like bringing football to basketball, but like a Rose Bowl-esque tournament that's third party hosted somewhere else, neutral sites, fun location, get your TV money agreements with whoever to broadcast it. And then you go, but it's just strictly these two conferences. Right. And it's strictly just
man, dude, I love that.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
I think that's the way you can do it.
Pac-12 Big East preseason tournament.
Big East basketball has that Fox money too. That's why if the Big East is attached and you can.
Oh,
and it would have to be like, only 6
but they
teams
also
or
need games because the Big East is out of that big football Power 4 agreement. That's why I think they'd be amenable to these kinds of discussions.
I love that. And you have
at the Rose Bowl,
you would have the team that finished first in the Big East last year play the team that finished last in the Pac-12 last year, and you do matchups like that, right? Yeah. Man, that would be so cool.
That's the only way I think it's going to work, because I don't think that schools will risk like it being like, all right, yeah, we'll host the worst team from what is in our eyes a lesser conference. Like, what do we have to gain from this, right? Even if the best team in that lesser conference,
teams need non-conference games. That's what they have to gain, and it's better if they're
strategic on that.
Yeah, I think this
as
would
best
be
as they can be.
I think that would be a good strategy for what the committee's looking for.
I think in general, maybe, yeah. But I think that you're gonna get bit in the ass sometime because of this agreement. Unless it was,
you probably can't do first to last. You could probably do like top 4.
Yeah, so I'm saying like top 4 or top 6.
Well, because you're not going to make money off of a San Diego at DePaul game or something like that, and vice versa.
But you had Oakland playing.
Sure, I mean, there's
Loyola Chicago.
All of these teams have to play games, and they have to play them somewhere, and there's ways to make it more interesting. So, but if you want
buy-in from the presidents, athletic directors, the conference commissioners, you have to be like, we're putting our best out. You're putting your best out. We'll do it every year. Right. And we'll just make it a fun tournament in fucking Vegas or Hawaii or something.
Oh, man. Right. Dude, Teresa Gold.
You had
at Teresa Gold on this.
You had Ben before you even said Vegas, and that's hard. But then his ad in Vegas sealed it.
Yeah, I was saving that. It was the ace up the sleeve, just in case.
Dude, I don't know how this hasn't, like the Big Ten ACC. What do they call that? The Big Ten ACC.
Well, it hasn't happened in years. It was Big Ten ACC Challenge, and I don't know that it was
Alliance.
I don't know that it wasn't an alliance. The ACC was part of that alliance. It was just like there was a guaranteed, like every team in the Big Ten and every team in the ACC was guaranteed to have a non-conference game against a team from that conference every year.
Yeah,
and then they'd spin it, so it'd be like Michigan State against Duke. But it wasn't neutral site, which it was great for like that point in the season, because I mean, I think JP is right. You would have a hard time selling those like coaches and those athletic departments to like make those trips. But since there is history to this, you'd get a school, like I remember Florida State, when they were really good, came to Minnesota and played at Williams Arena in just a year that they happened to be awesome. And the Gophers got like a huge win because they play in a weird stadium and like a pretty good student section, even when they're bad. And it just allowed for those kinds of like madness style games to take place in November and kind of like make the early season more exciting, but also teams not wanting to lose those games. I get, but also it's bad. You have 36 of these fucking things. It's not like one loss in football that ruins your season, which it doesn't even do that anymore. But
yeah,
it's just like make it fun. That's we're all saying make it fun. Make it fun. Sticking with Gill, it was very fun in Gill as Oregon State Gymnastics put up the 7th best team score in program history.
That's cool.
Against San Jose State. Again, I want to be happy, and I am happy for Tanya Chaplin and her number 14 ranked Oregon State Gymnastics program. I think this is the year. I really think this is the year that they make an appearance at the team championship meet and don't just send individuals.
And you have to be in the top what to get there?
I don't know. You have to win in the tournament. Warren. We need a Warren button where he just pops up. But anyway, Jade Carey. And I watch these routines. 7 5s on uneven bars and balance beam. JP,
I just heard
bring back the show me the blemish shirts right now. I hope that's what this clicking is working on.
It's not me. Benny's working on his own t-shirts.
Like both of those. I was like, where did she, I don't know, fuck up like a 0.25, whatever is not a fuck up, but tell me what this woman did on those bars and on that beam weren't perfect. So, man, huge day, huge result. There's a long way to go for the Beavs, but great to see them roaring out of the gates. And that was another great atmosphere at Gill.
Gill is a fortress.
It was sold out, wasn't it?
Close.
I think it was.
Like, I don't know what the capacity. They have to pull some bleachers down for gymnastics, so I don't know what the capacity is, but I think
I saw an X from the official gymnastics or the official Oregon State Athletic Twitter handle that it was sold out.
Good.
I feel confident in saying that.
That's a sellout. That's data we can trust. Unlike the judges, judging Jade Carey's uneven bars and balance beam.
Yep.
At 9.975, that's like the teacher who gave you like 93.5% on something and like insisted on it being an A-. Like,
it wasn't.
I would have been so happy with that.
Shit. The teacher who gave you a 73.5% on something and insisted on it being a C-.
Please, not a D-.
A D keeps me in Corvallis. A D- sends me to Albany and Lynbet and CC. I can't do that again.
Yeah. Please let me take the final. I'm sorry I overslept. I'm sorry I was using the test. The test answers.
No,
that was a test.
No, I wasn't downloading music on DC++ during the entire lecture. I was taking notes, I promise. That's a 2006 reference, and I don't care.
5 and 6.
And 7, I think, a little bit.
DC++, man. We lived in a world that was ahead of our time.
DC++ feels like something you would score on a baseball scorecard. Hey,
it feels like
King of the Segue is back,
Woo!
bitch.
Oh man, wait, I wanted to give Warren, our dude Warren, a shout out. He did provide a little bit of factoids, which was that.
Did you message Warren just now? Is that what you're doing?
No, this was not just now, but I've been wondering where Warren has been. He has been in hibernation, but he's still around. This was as of last week, so I don't know how this figure has changed since, but essentially, Jade has 120 something individual titles as of the beginning of this season. The record, the collegiate record, is Trinity Thomas from, I believe, University of Florida, who has 142 titles over 5 seasons of competing. So there is a race for Jay to take the all-time, all-school individual title record this season. So make sure you're out there and supporting her. Make sure you're tuning in to support. It's electric, and she's phenomenal, as are the rest of our gym beeves. So just wanted to plug our dude Warren, who I had to dig through all the social media apps to find out where he's hiding, but I found him.
Nice.
Leave it up to JP. He'll do that.
MVP Sluther.
Yeah.
You should make a t-shirt of Terry with a crown on a Segway, because he is the king of Segways.
Except we had to backtrack from that Segway. Yeah. Yeah, it's like
just soil, it's like grass,
the shirt,
Terry in a crown out riding a Segway in the dirt.
The shirt makes it look like I'm standing up.
Just horizontal.
The shirt makes it look like I'm standing up, but I'm really buried in like a Segway coffin with a smile on my face, thinking I can segue myself out of this situation.
Good thing I've got the most epic segue ever.
And then on the back, JP is perpendicular, just drinking a beer.
Yeah.
6 feet above me.
Yep. We should make these
So
shirts.
good.
I'm really into this idea.
I don't know how many units that would do, but it's worth it to
At
try.
least one from me.
At least one from
I'd buy
JP.
one.
At least two.
I would accept one. So at least four, because you both would buy me one to make sure I got one.
Yeah.
So that's 4.
All right, done.
Are you gonna segue us out here, Terry, from 6 feet under?
No, I thought the one I had before was pretty good. So we're talking baseball.
So baseball.
Yeah. And
what do we want to say about baseball?
They
start practicing this week?
They start practice this week or soon.
Less than 48 hours.
I guess I can do this. I would like to wax poetic about the advances and the incoming talent of this group, particularly the pitching staff. And I think the best way to wax is to start with Dax and probably his number one fan, Dax Whitney, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Weehage Whitney. You live in Washington. Idaho borders Washington. It also borders Oregon, but whatever. We were just in Idaho, which is the home state of Dax Whitney, who appears to maybe all of the living embodiment of all of the best things of Rick Wild Thing Vaughn, without being wild. I hope he wears number 99, and I hope he throws 99. Awesome. He's pretty close. It's like 98.5. Yeah. And, the in-house favorite to be staff ace or the Friday night starter, Nelson Keljo, used to be the only arm on the staff that threw 95 plus, and now there is an abundance of them,
like 5 or 6.
There's 5 guys clearly clearing 95 at this point. Let's start with the arms. Why don't we do that? I think we're all enthusiastic about Oregon State baseball, and this year will be probably the most interesting season there's been in a long time. It's an independent schedule, and there's just a lot of anticipation for the squad. There's a lot of expectation as well, because this team hasn't been to Omaha under Canham, and it has to get to Omaha. And the talent composite review of this team is about as high as it's ever been. But just what excites you? What are you looking forward to? Who are you most excited to see from this pitching staff? Whitney, Keljo, or Segura, or anybody else?
Yeah, I think, so clear answers, Dax Whitney, right? Like he can, like you said, he's getting close to hitting triple digits, which I feel like is a pretty big anomaly in college baseball. But
freshman, like he's a child.
Yeah. But then
that's
the other
horrifying.
Thing is that they're talking with Dashel was talking with the pitching coach, and the pitching coach
Dashel or Freeman?
Was it Freeman? Is that right? That article?
As Dashel once said, if it's baseball, it's probably Freeman.
Yeah.
It was very
Dashel will help cover the baseball beat at times. But
yeah. Anyways, the Oregon State baseball coach, pitching coach,
Dorman,
was Gorman.
Whatever.
Dorman.
The pitching coach. He had talked about Dax Whitney. Obviously, the fastball is pretty nuts, but that he has a breaking ball that just like will freeze a hitter, right? It like starts at your head, outside of your head, and drops right in the strike zone.
And then it kills you.
And he's like, right. And he's like, it would, and then it kills you. He's like, it would be an automatic take for 90% of batters, and match that up with, a tick over 98 mile per hour fastball. And I mean, if he has, is firing on all cylinders, he's going to be unhittable. And I think during his high school, but his ERA was something like 0.29 last year. Like it was just crazy. So very excited to see what he can do. But Keljo too, like Keljo had a incredible end to the season. From all accounts, he's improved quite a bit in the offseason. So you're really setting yourself up to be in at least as a good position that you were last year with your day 1, day 2 starters. And, I'm going to blank on his name, but when they were asking Trent Caraway, who the pitcher that he least likes to face is, he had thrown out a name who isn't even really in consideration for a starting role, right? And it's, man, I'm blanking on the name, but it's a pitcher that they're saying, you know, if Dax is taking a little bit of time getting used to sort of not the pace, but sort of the flow of college baseball and all the travel and games that go into it, you know, this guy could be someone who he could split a start with, where they both pitch like 4 innings in a game. But to have that depth on this team is incredible. And I think it's going to be, you know, it's going to be really fun to watch. There's a lot of guys who we know kind of what they can do that I think we'll see an improved version of what we've seen in the past. And then a lot of guys that we don't know, but there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of hype behind these guys. Yeah, the pitching staff is extremely exciting. JP, I don't know if you have anything that you wanted to add to the pitching staff before we jump into hitting.
Yeah, I mean, I think just on Whitney, obviously, like, the dude's destined for going pro.
For sure.
I mean, I think that he was already on the radar. Believe, yeah, he didn't even enter the draft. I don't know. I haven't seen any results of the draft from the summer, but people had him pegged as like the 56th overall MLB prospect out of high school, and he elected to come to Oregon State. I think that says a lot about the program that Mitch is continuing to build, the legacy that he's building on. I think that it should not go without recognition that the job that Mitch was put into was easy and extremely difficult at the same time. I think he had clearly an understanding of the program's history, of the culture, of the types of players that worked well in Corvallis at being a player under Casey, but then also starting to manage on his own professionally and seeing how, you know, the inner workings were before deciding to come back to Oregon State. But it was a difficult job because he either had to sustain and build upon what Casey has done, or he fails. Even if he goes his own route and is successful, I think that most people would have felt disenfranchised from the program as a fan, that it had a different vibe. And what he's done to build on it, to entice guys like Dax to forego professional baseball and instead invest 3 years into Oregon State baseball, should not be overlooked by any means. And then I'm not sure, of course, if Damn Nation's involved or if there's some sort of NIL agreement that was comfortable enough to make Whitney feel like, well, here's, you know, a revenue stream, even if it's not a signing bonus. But most guys look at themselves as being a mid-second round pick and go out of high school and go, yeah, I'll take my time developing in the minors and take that paycheck now. The fact that he didn't says a lot about the program and the athletic department and the collective if they're involved.
And Turley and Caraway made that same choice too.
Yeah, like, pretty much.
Yeah. So like, I know he's got to get the team to Omaha, but like these wins in recruiting are not small and they're not easy to come by, especially in baseball, which is, it's completely different from every other sport just because of the way the draft works and the money that's available right away to go to the minors and play pro ball. Yeah.
And let's also remember that Turley and Caraway could have entered the portal.
Yeah.
With the uncertainty of the schedule and the conference and all that was affecting football as like the main revenue sport. I mean, the trickle down of course we've seen the impact already. And the fact that it didn't sweep through baseball, again, another testament to the culture and the program that Mitch has built. And it makes me like almost more optimistic about this season, especially because these guys clearly want to prove everybody wrong, and they're on the right side of that fight because they're not walking away from it. Instead, they're embracing it.
Who leads the team in wins, Benny, from the pitching staff?
I think, man, that's a great question. I think it's going to be Dax. And here's why. Okay. I think that Keljo is at this point a better pitcher, a more reliable pitcher. I think that's fair to say. But Keljo is also going to be going up against the other school's ace. Dax isn't. And yeah, and especially if it gets to the bullpen too. Like I from what I took of the article, Oregon State's bullpen is going to be far superior in most cases and better in almost every case compared to the school that they're playing. So I do think that having a really, really good day 2 starter, it just lines them up to to be more successful in the wins department.
And a really good day 3 start. Like it could be Segura.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all if we get to the postseason and Segura's got like 10, 11, 12 wins. Like I'll be like, yeah, because that kid wins baseball games. Yeah.
Did you see so Freeman did the article about pitching and they did the article about hitting. And he was talking about how it's Ava Arquette, right?
Yep.
Ava Arquette has the potential
to be a number 1 pick.
To be a number one pick.
Yeah, I think he's already projected. He's like 16th or 8th or some very low first round possible number.
So he's already for
top prospects.
To borrow a basketball term, he's a lottery pick already in the mock drafts. And we'll see how that changes as we get up to June.
But if you think about it, you have all these players that are returning, right? And then you think like you guys talked about Caraway. Caraway started strong, and then he got that injury, and it just sort of like
lingered
just hampered. Yeah. And when you're a freshman, like there is an aspect of getting injured early in the season, especially in baseball, where trying to catch up is almost, I would imagine, impossible. A really, really difficult task to undertake. And so I'm expecting a lot out of Caraway this year. I think he's going to have a real breakout season. And look, like I feel like we have this conversation every year. But I truly do feel like this year, Oregon State could be a very special team. They're more well-rounded this year. I think that's fair to say. But you are not going to replace Bazzana. Like you can't replace him with one person.
Australian for noise.
Top to bottom, and I think Freeman used this exact language. Like from 1 through 12, right? You have a much more well-rounded team. So it allows you to plug and play a little bit, play to your matchups a little bit better. And also, if you look at the schedule that this team has put together, like the schedule's deep. And you're going to have to gut out some wins. But I think Oregon State will be, as weird as it sounds, better prepared for the regionals and super regionals this year than maybe they were last year.
Yeah.
The Pac just like wasn't that good at baseball at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
Right. It just wasn't. So
it all
this
starts,
team is deep. But it does. I agree. I think that making it 1 to Omaha, 2 deep into Omaha, hopefully winning it, all comes down to Caraway being healthy. And then because he's healthy, finding his rhythm and showcasing the growth that Bazzana did in real time, like in front of our eyes, right? Like, I think Travis always showed flashes early on of his potential, but he had that opportunity afforded him to be out there every day. Trent did not so much have that last year, but I think that if he starts to demonstrate that he's on that similar trajectory on reaching his potential, that this team will be really impossible to stop. Honestly, I do.
Yeah.
And I think not to put the pressure on the kid, but like it does hang on his shoulders a bit, because
I agree.
We're bringing back essentially everything that we need. We retooled with some guys like Whitney and Arquette and others. I mean, I think we did the transfer portal incredibly well. And then we've got a guy in waiting. I mean, we've got Turley, of course, is now. It's odd to say that he's kind of a vet, but like he's kind of like the star vet of the program. And then we've got the wild card, and that's Caraway. But Caraway has so much upside. If he can showcase that sooner rather than later, it's going to be immensely beneficial to the season.
Right. And well, speaking of Caraway had some great insight on the pitching staff in Joe Freeman's great overview. And on a pitcher we haven't even mentioned yet, someone asked Caraway,
there it is, Benny.
Who's someone on the staff that you don't like facing? And Caraway said, Ethan Kleinschmit. And
there you go. That's why I couldn't remember.
Kleinschmidt's the transfer from Lynn Benton. So getting, into the JC transfer portal is important for building a program as well.
It's huge because you don't have
exactly
tape on these guys. You don't have a book. So all of a sudden they're coming out here throwing whatever they throw. And it's like batters are just bamboozled.
Already drawing comparisons to Cooper Jerpy. So that's a nice start. You still need to deliver on the mound, but that's kind of, that segment of the article is titled The Secret. And so if you have a pitcher like that who's not even making headlines and you have a pretty good three-headed monster of starters and you can kind of place him where you need to, maybe it ends up being the closer role because they got Richard Holmes they need to replace.
I think that's probably going to go to Joey Munt.
I would love it if that went to Joey Munt.
The real vet.
Our guy. Yeah. Joey Munt is a real vet. Our guy, Joey, all the injuries that guy's been through. I hope Joey Munt leads the country in saves this year. Well, I hope he doesn't get enough save opportunities to get there because we're blowing teams out. But I want Joey Munt getting those innings. I love Joey Munt, and we're rooting for him. And
Oregon State has put so much money into Goss. I would love to see a little light show and have Joey Munt have his signature walkout song to something just fucking heavy.
What would it be?
It would be like I don't know, some Black Sabbath or Metallica song,
or
Iron Man,
or he gets two. He gets two songs. He gets to run to the mound to one song, and then he does a full lap. And then a second song starts.
A full lap around the warning track.
Yes. Who was the Oakland pitcher that came out to One by Metallica, where all the fans were going like this?
Oh man!
God, what was that guy's name?
Oh man, I don't remember.
You're testing my A's knowledge. Isringhausen?
My A's knowledge is
Jason. Was it Jason Isringhausen?
No.
Oh my God.
Pre-Moneyball days. Okay. He was good.
I know, but that's so long ago. They weren't doing things for closers back then.
One by Metallica was out before 2003, I think.
Yeah, but they weren't doing fun things.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. They kind of.
No.
Because
the Giants play.
They did that for
Smoke on the Water.
Rick Wild Thing Vaughn in Major League, which came out in like 92. Maybe that was just in the movie.
Yeah, but that wasn't a widespread thing of real baseball. That was a fictional movie.
It should have been.
It should have been. I agree.
They would play. It was like a Seattle General theme song. They just play Macklemore when the closer would come out. It was so lame.
That is lame.
Seattle?
Yeah, the Mariners.
I don't remember where we played for Gordado or Joe Nathan.
The best closer song is for who is the Mets pitcher?
Nunez
that came out.
The Trumpets. Nunez.
The Trumpets.
Yeah, Edwin Nunez.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Edwin? Yeah. What? Yeah.
But Giants legend Rob Nen would come out to Smoke on the Water, but all they would do is just like, he would just run in from the
what was the name?
Well, Brian Wilson did Jump Around, and that got the crowd going.
Yeah.
But they didn't do like cool lights or like
sure.
What
was the song that
really focused on?
What was the song that Sergio Romo came out to? I know he wasn't always a closer, but
El Michon.
El Michon. Great song. Love this.
It's a great song.
Love Sergio Romo.
Love you, Serge.
Yeah, man. Dude, you could do like I have dreams about what my closer song would be if I played baseball and made it to the major leagues.
I'll have one tonight now.
That was a Benny's Bonus Belligerents episode back in the day.
I think it was.
Yeah. By the way, Dax Whitney is signed to Damnation.
Oh, nice.
So, tip of the cap. Way to go,
Shout out Dax.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Dax.
Earned that money,
on,
Dax.
Dax on stacks.
Yeah.
All right.
Stacks on Dax on
One
stacks.
last thing on baseball. One other thing I learned from the article is that Ava Arquette, our starting shortstop, is 6'5". That's...
I feel like I heard about that.
I didn't.
Well, not like
He's like a foot taller than me.
I remember
and
reading
he's
that
supposed
he
to
was
be
like
a
a
shortstop.
I mean, yeah, aren't shortstops like 5'9", 5'10"?
Right. He's also playing power forward.
5'5".
He's also playing power forward tomorrow against Pepperdine as a backup. Tinkle's really innovating right now. He boxes out hard.
Hey, for what it's worth, O'Neal Cruz is the tallest shortstop in Major League Baseball history, and he was 6'7", or he is 6'7". He's a shortstop for the Pirates.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, there's Corey Seager 6'4", Carlos Correa 6'4", Troy Gloss. These guys ever shortstops?
Troy Gloss. Troy Gloss wasn't a shortstop, was he?
I guess. And they also have Mike Morse. So maybe at some point they did play shortstop, like for an inning. But Michael Morse was a horse, and he was a corner outfielder and first baseman and DH. So 6'5" makes sense for those positions.
On the schedule you mentioned, Benny, a series against Iowa in Des Moines, which will be played at the Chicago Cubs AAA stadium in Des Moines. That's
like May.
It's 2 weeks before the wedding, but that's
what are the dates again?
So what
for against Iowa? Yeah, I'll go with your parents. Friday, May 9th, Saturday, May 10th, and Sunday, May 11th. The times haven't been announced, but I'm sure it's a night, afternoon, early afternoon setup. But that is where the Iowa Cubs play, and
yeah, that'd be dope.
You can have some. There's fun
by the way,
to be had.
Troy Gloss played 18 games at shortstop for a total of 70.1 innings.
Okay. Oh, the more you know. Speaking of AAA stadiums, I got my tickets to go see the Mariners play the A's in Sacramento.
Tight.
That would be cool.
When's that happening?
Have fun.
Cinco de Mayo.
Oh,
it's gonna be a real game
in Sacto.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
the A's are playing Sacramento this year.
Yeah.
I completely
They're just the
forgot.
A's, the Athletics.
They're just the A's. A single A, an apostrophe, and an S are somehow three different fonts after being the same thing for years. Yeah, you're really thinking all of this through. A's front office. God damn.
Man.
All right, I don't want to get on this soapbox, but those games will be fun. And I know Sacramento will turn out for it.
It's just going to be all
for 1 year.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
I know that I'm moving, but all right.
Well, they have nowhere to go. By the way, that's what I was going to say. I saw Pat Ryan this weekend.
No way.
Oh, shit. The original A's
What was I... Dude, I saw something the other day where it was is it the owner of a sports team whose name is Patrick Ryan?
Well, he's not the original. And
not the original.
No. And I didn't promise him this, but I'll do it now anyways. I'm going to shout out Seam Headed. So check out Seam Headed.
Oh yeah, we got
for all your baseball and softball apparel needs. We even have our own collection there, Terry. Did you know that?
I did know that. The Belligerent Beavs collection, I believe.
Yeah.
And I believe also you get the nicest discount in the game when you type in ChopEm at checkout. Is that still true?
I don't know. You can get a Belligerent jersey. You can get a little map of Corvallis over home plate.
Yeah. Corvallis is a home plate.
A beaver swinging a baseball bat like an MLB logo.
Killabrew of beavers.
Yeah.
And then you can kill a brew while wearing that shirt and watching the Beavs.
And there's a ChopEm shirt.
And you can use a ChopEm shirt to help you spell ChopEm at checkout. You can't spell it without hope. That's the only advice I can give you for what I believe is 31% off for the nicest discount.
The absolute nicest discount.
Absolutely. Even though Bazana's in the pros now, it's still Australian for noise.
Oh, let's bring that shit back. Pat, the other Pat Ryan, the lesser tiered Pat Ryan is the Pat Ryan that Ryan Field that Northwestern is going to be playing on, that's like the most expensive college football stadium ever built, is named after
Aon. They were the shirt sponsor for Manchester United for a few years.
Yeah,
that's not the Manchester United soccer team. That's a low A team in Manchester, Massachusetts, or New Hampshire, or wherever the fuck that Manchester is. Just kidding. All right. Anything else before we get out of here, guys? I love how our short episodes are 2 hours long. We're so on brand. We're so back. We are rolling through 2025.
Yes.
Unhindered.
170.
Unshackled.
Is you rolling?
Hating.
Bitch, it might be.
Indeed. Well, from all of us here at the Belligerent Beavs Podcast, thank you for tuning into this, the 170th episode 170 of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast. Keep supporting men's and women's basketball. Keep your eyes glued to football, as there are always news there. I'm sure we'll be getting some realignment bombs in the upcoming weeks. And yeah,
shocking.
Baseball and the sending
Shockwaves.
shockwaves, and baseball and softball season is among us. Championship aspirations, big hopes, big expectations.
Oh, it's going to be so fun.
But you know what they say about hope is you can almost spell ChopEm with it. It doesn't work as well in the reverse way, but I do know you can't spell ChopEm without hope. So for myself, JP Bertram, Benjamin Lawrence, Sebastian Wehage, and me, Terry Horseman, thank you for listening to the Belligerent Beavs Podcast. Please remember to rate, review, like, subscribe. Please share the show with your friends. That really helps us a lot. 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Visit us at belligerentbeavs.com. Get the dope merch that JP created live on this episode and on previous episodes, belligerentbeavs.com/merch. Lots of great baseball items still in the store. The past ones are timeless, so be ready for baseball season. February 14th is not Valentine's Day. It's Oregon State baseball opening day. Which
we sold some Goss Got 'em tees this week already.
We did. I saw that. You know what? Those people might be headed down to the first games of the season in surprise Arizona.
Surprise!
I'm so excited. It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part of baseball season when I get to do the surprise bit. It's so easy to please. Thank you so much. And follow I don't fucking at Bellig Beavs wherever, at Belligerent Beavs on places. Yeah. I'm done.
YouTube.
YouTube. Watch us on YouTube.
Do the YouTube.
Do the YouTubes and be excellent to each other. And if you're in Sacramento, Benny will see you there for every Mariners game. And if you're in Des Moines, let's get something going for that Oregon State series. And yeah, you can't spell ChopEm without hope. So ChopEm.
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 Beavs back, baby.
And remember, Bazana is always Australian for noise.